What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of thefantasyfootballfanatics.com. It is Tuesday, February 13th. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What is up, guys?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I am exhausted, but excited to be here. How are you guys doing?
There you go.
Doing good.
I think we need to come up with a new nickname for CJ, this new, kinder, gentler version of CJ.
Oh, you heard that, did you?
Like it was in there. I mean, did you hear it? It was very, hey guys, what's that? Like maybe the Velvet Hitman or something.
Well,
to figure it
seeing
out.
that I had to be like Principal Hickman just a couple minutes ago before the show got started. That's
Okay.
what,
Yes.
Now,
CJ was the voice of reason, which is never a good thing.
Life where you're Principal CJ.
It felt like that.
Wow.
This show probably wouldn't have started till 4 a.m. if Principal Hickman didn't get in there. Get involved.
We were talking about pitchforks and fire again, so I'm not sure that Principal Hickman
All right,
is
well, that is CJ's wheelhouse at that point. Right?
You are very lucky that I cannot reiterate what the words that you were saying on this show. So let's not do that.
Anyway, we have an amazing show for you guys today. This is the next installment in our series of must-save shows. As we say, whatever your streaming service is, we recommend downloading these because these are the shows where we continue our prep into the 2018 season. Today, of course, as the title probably suggested, you probably know what we're talking about. We're starting our running back positional breakdown from 2017. These are the facts. These are the trends. These are everything you need to remember as we switch gears and start looking forward to the new season. Of course, we're also going to bring you all of the top headlines from around the league. As always, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening, iTunes or the Apple Music podcast, whatever it's called. I should know this. Stitcher, Google Play, Podcast Addict, tons of other streaming
iTunes?
services. No, it's not called iTunes anymore. They changed the name of it. It's
they
the
did?
Apple
What is it?
Music
Apple
podcast
Store?
thing.
Apple Store?
I don't know. It's something like that. Remember, everybody, subscribe to. This is a year-round podcast. We are here, as I'm sure you are aware, all off-season long as we move forward into free agency, into the rookie class, and ready for 2018. As always, if you want to subscribe to the show and interact with the show, you can do so on Twitter at the FF Fanatics or on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. And if you want to support the show, get yourself a bunch of bonus perks along the way, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Lots of good stuff, guys. We can't recommend it enough. So with that, let's move into our top headlines from around the league. And we'll start with some league-wide headlines. Now, as we reported on Friday's show, the whole fiasco, what happened in Indianapolis, well, they found their guy. They got a new head coach. Josh McDaniels is out, and the Indianapolis Colts have hired former Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Frank Reich as their new head coach on a 5-year deal. So, CJ, I throw this to you. How you feeling, buddy?
Well, I'm feeling good. I mean, this is to be expected. I've seen this happen before with prior championship teams. Other organizations that are, less fortunate, like the Colts are. They get to pluck from those championships and be able to try to bring that to their city. So, I mean, I wish Frank Wright nothing but the best. I mean, he did great work. I mean, for Carson Wentz and then, of course, with Nick Foles and the finish he had there. So, hopefully, Andrew Luck should be healthy. He should be good and maybe make a positive influence on this team and try to get Andrew Luck back to the football he was playing a couple years ago when he was good and he was healthy. And I'm happy for my former OC.
Yeah. It sucks that if Josh McDaniels had just taken the job, you wouldn't be losing your offensive coordinator. But a lot of people are making the point they went from the taking the losing offensive coordinator from the Super Bowl to the winning one. So some people are saying it's an upgrade. So glass is half full. Depends on how you look at it. So the Colts have their guy of the future, seemingly, and we will see how that works out for them in the long run. Let's head to Arizona, where the Cardinals have re-signed general manager Steve Keim to an extension that keeps him under contract through 2022. Jason, that's exciting, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. He's had some great signings that no one expected to be good. I mean, his career move was bringing Carson Palmer over for practically nothing from Oakland, and he ended up being the franchise quarterback. So he's done a great job. There are some areas that concern me, like he seems to have a blind spot when it comes to the offensive line, and we seem to have a real problem finding another corner. So hopefully those things with the new coaching staff, they'll be able to refocus a little bit, and he'll be able to pull some Steve Keim magic and get us some good stuff going into this next season, because we definitely need it.
Fingers crossed. Let's move to the running back position, where we'll start with the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is kind of still developing. This news just kind of broke a couple hours ago. And it's that a 19-year-old woman has accused Kansas City Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt of, quote, shoving and pushing her down in Cleveland over the weekend. Not much more to go on if anything's going to come from this. Apparently, I mean, it's accusations. There's no arrest or anything. So we will monitor and report back when we know more, if there's even more to tell.
Yep.
Let's go over to the Titans, where ESPN Titans reporter Cameron Wolfe has predicted that the Tennessee Titans will release running back DeMarco Murray this offseason. Yet another source that is suggesting the exact same thing. We're all expecting this to be inevitability.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You just want Derrick Henry to get the start. So
Yes, get the trash out of there. Let the man shine. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Let's do it.
DeMarco Murray, he'll be 30 years old this season, so I mean, the market's going to be interesting to find a veteran running back that's just a first, second down back, honestly. But I mean, he catches the ball quite a bit. I don't know why he's being labeled as this 2-down back. He was a much better pass catcher than Derrick Henry was. Just can't stay healthy, so I don't think he's going to get a shocking contract at all. He's probably going to get somewhere around veteran minimum, I'd imagine. Depends on where he goes. Depends on the necessity. It'll be interesting, but expect DeMarco Murray to be released and then be a part of the free agent frenzy next month. So let's see. The Boston Herald's Jeff Howey, he reports that the, quote, early vibe is that the New England Patriots running back Dion Lewis will not be with the Patriots in 2018.
Uh-oh.
This is
go.
also
Rex Burkhead.
This is
Stock
adding
up.
fuel to the fire. We've been hearing some rumors about this, and now more sources are suggesting it. Guys, what are your thoughts with how this is going to play out? Because I believe Rex Burkhead is a free agent as well. So, I mean, they're going to have to re-sign somebody.
Hey, I would go with the guy that Bill brought in. He brought in Rex Burkhead. He wanted to go get him. He's got him. He was showing good promise in the red zone, and when times when he was healthy, he was real good there. And don't forget another name that's back there. Of course, you got James White. And then Mike Gillislee, a guy that hopefully gets let out the dungeon and, the pit of misery, and he can go out there and actually do something for this team.
Dilly.
Dilly.
Here's the thing, and I mentioned it already in another episode. You can't count on anything. I mean, this is the New England Patriots. They're going to do stuff, and you just kind of have to sit back and watch and go, oh, my God. Because, I mean, look at what happened last year. We had no idea. They brought in Burkhead, and they brought in Gillislee, they brought in Dion Lewis, and you're just going, what in the world? So, for me, I'm just going to sit back and wait, because trying to get a handle on what the Patriots are going to do in the backfield is a crapshoot.
It is. So James White is under contract through 2020, so he will be there, and it's going to cost them more to cut him. I mean, not that they were going to, just putting all the information out there. Mike Gillislee is under contract just this year. He's got a $2 million cap hit, but they could cut him for literally nothing. Rex Burkhead is going to be a free agent, so there's that. So, I mean, this whole situation could be interesting to watch for sure. Because, again, this is not the first time that we've heard this kind of rumbling coming out of New England. So, a guy that we are all high on if he stays. But, I mean, what do you guys think the market's going to be for Dion Lewis? I'd imagine he gets a decent contract somewhere.
Yeah, he should. He's a gadget type kind of guy. I mean, he's shown that he can be reliable, dependable, especially in the passing game. It's kind of hard to say right now what exact team, but I do believe that there's a market out there for him. For his services.
Another veteran, 3-down running back hitting the open market. His biggest knock against him, of course, through at least his time with New England, has been his injury history. So we'll see. That actually, do you have anything you want to add, Jason?
No, I was just going to say, like you said, I mean, he showed himself to be a really reliable back, and he played very well. He does have a little bit of an injury history. But, I think him and DeMarco Murray's names, if they do indeed hit the open market, those are going to be your hot names at running back.
We'll see if he gets re-signed, but, again, the early rumblings are that he will not be. So I guess with that, let's move on to why everyone's here. Firing through the news. Not much to talk about this time of the year. And we are getting to our running back finishes from 2017. Of course, we're breaking down everything that happened, what we think is important. Was it a mirage? Can we count on it going forward? And we have to start with the guy who was the number one running back on the season. And again, all these point totals that we're going to say here is for standard scoring leagues. Todd Gurley, 319.3 points. Recency bias is huge in fantasy football. You will notice this. He is currently going as the number 1 running back off the board with the 102 pick, tied with the next guy, Le'Veon Bell. So they both are listed at 102, but Todd Gurley is figuring currently, based on current drafts, as slightly higher, I guess by some decimal point. But hey, Todd Gurley, this is a guy who has been very polarizing going into the year. He was being drafted as the 10th running back off the board, as the 5th pick in the second round. And honestly, as I remember it, that seems like it might have been, you were taking a shot at him. I feel like on average we were seeing him go even later than that in most of our drafts, our mock drafts. But here he is at the end of the year, the number 1 guy by a decent margin. He's got, over 50 points on the next guy. But still, everyone's ranting and raving about this amazing season. But, go back last year, David Johnson actually finished with an even higher point total. So these are all things to take into account. When they were the St. Louis Rams, his rookie season came off of his injury, which he came into the draft injured. He had a fantastic rookie year, but he only had 3 games that were really stand out. 2016 under Jeff Fisher, they knew what to expect from Todd Gurley. His numbers plummeted. Could be the sophomore slump. Could be that Jeff Fisher is just a not very good head coach. And then his first year with Sean McVay, all of his totals go up. 13 touchdowns, 1,305 yards. He also tops it off with another 78 yards receiving and 6 receiving touchdowns. Guys, 19 touchdowns and a combined almost 2,000 yards, actually over 2,000 yards. That's exactly what you want from a running back 1. The question, of course, is it sustainable? And honestly, I don't know if he reaches this threshold because there was a lot of, I'm not going to say broken plays, but there were a couple in there. He made big plays. He created mismatches, busted coverages, and some of these were just big chunk plays. If he's better defended with an offseason for people to cover him, I'm not going to say he reaches this total, but with the pass catching usage, I think this is the guy that we're going to see going forward, the guy that everyone was excited about in 2016 drafts where he was being drafted in a lot of leagues. I saw plenty of them as the number 1 overall pick. So Todd Gurley going number 1 overall, first off, I should ask, I think I know what the answer is, but is this shocking to you guys?
No, absolutely
he's
not.
Going number 1?
Yeah, that he's going number 1. I agree. I mean, there's some serious talent behind him. Players, as I mentioned, like David Johnson, who will be back in the draft. And it'll be interesting to see how personal preference kind of puts these guys in people's rankings. But I think that another year in Sean McVay's system, and they continue to develop, and he develops it more and gets more exotic with his plays, because we've seen this in his past. And as we know, him there and his offensive coordinator, they come from different schools of thought, but they both are very successful in their own rights. This is a team that we could be starting to just kind of scratch the surface. I could see somewhere around this production total being the norm for Todd Gurley, who's only entering his 4th season. He's 23 years old, so he'll be 24 at the beginning of the season next year, so very much early in his prime. Guys, what are your thoughts on Todd Gurley?
Well, I get to watch this guy a lot. Obviously, he's in my division. He is absolutely as advertised. I mean, the year before last, he was really bad, and again, as we mentioned, that was because the entire offense was bad. I mean, Jared Goff was not good. They didn't have any decent weapons.
Yeah.
He was getting hit in the backfield.
No player was hit faster than Todd Gurley. That offensive line was bad,
Absolutely.
too.
It was just bad. It was garbage. And also, not only was it garbage, there was no coaching to help it. There was no coming up with dynamic plays to try to go around that, fix the problem of having a bad O-line, because there are ways of getting around that. But Jeff Fisher was not the coach to do that. Now you fast forward to Sean McVay. Like you said, this was his first year, and that offense was just clicking. So is this sustainable? I would say absolutely, because I think this offense is going to get better. They're going to meld a little bit and might just get themselves a few more weapons to throw to, and Goff is going to improve. So I would say, yeah, I think it is.
Yep. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you guys. I think it's going to be sustainable, not only just because of second year being in the system, just to the maturity I'm expecting out of Goff, like Jason was saying, and then just a step of the receiver play. And they're only going to get better on the offensive line. They're going to get more comfortable together, and then that's just going to increase Todd Gurley's performance. I mean, McVay has built an offense where it's just going to suck as a defensive coordinator trying to put up a game plan because you can't stop everything. Okay, you want to shut down the run? Okay, here comes Jared Goff killing you with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and everybody else. All right, well, let's shut down the pass. Well, then here comes Todd Gurley running down your throat. So it's going to be very interesting to continue to see the maturity of this offense going forward. and I totally think it's going to be sustainable for Todd Gurley.
There's just something great about, getting 18 and a half rushing attempts per game, averaging just under 5 yards a carry. I like it. It's good stuff. So we all think Todd Gurley is worthy of roughly where he's being taken right now, which is the number 1 overall running back in 2018 drafts. Next guy we kind of already mentioned a little bit, Le'Veon Bell. Jason, talk to me about Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell is the linchpin of a very, very talented Pittsburgh offense. This guy is involved in every facet of the game. He gets lots of passes. He gets lots of handoffs, 1,000 yards on the ground. Got the opportunity to have 1,000 yards through the air. This is a guy you definitely want because he's just always getting tons and tons of touches. And they almost ran him into the ground in the beginning of the year, kind of teetered off a little bit toward the end of the year. But again, he was still Le'Veon Bell. He still did very, very well within this offense. And I think that as Ben Roethlisberger begins to age, or continues to age rather, that Le'Veon Bell is going to be more useful, especially if they pay him the amount of money that he wants. If they actually pay him this money, then yeah, they're going to be using him as much as they possibly can. So overall, I definitely think that Le'Veon Bell is someone that is worthy of being taken high, very high. My only concern with him, obviously, is his penchant for being injured.
Yes.
He's going to get injured a lot because he's not a big-bodied back. He's a smaller back. And that means when he gets annihilated out there, he's going to get injured. So you got to be cognizant of that. Realize that he does get injured almost every single year.
Yeah, he's only played one full season. That was his sophomore season in 2014.
Yeah.
But, I mean, some of that's also been disciplinary, so it's not all injury. But, I mean, that's another thing you have to worry about when you draft Le'Veon Bell. Now, you made a good point. We're not sure where he's going to land. He is a pending free agent right now. He has threatened retirement if he gets franchise tagged, and we'll see. We'll see where he ends up going, what he ends up getting paid, what he ends up doing. But, of course, if he returns to Pittsburgh, we know exactly what we're getting out of him. He's going to be 26 come the season, which is perfectly fine for a fantasy running back. And, I mean, he led the league in touches this year, in rushing attempts at the very least, with 321. He didn't get the gaudy numbers and as many broken plays as, no plays of over 40 yards as Todd Gurley did. But, I mean, a consistent contributor for every year. He's been consistently one of these top running backs, and I see no reason to think that changes unless he goes to a team that just he's not going to be able to run behind an offensive line. But even then, he's talented enough that he'll probably be worth a early pick. Probably not top 2, top 3, but still, he's that kind of talent. CJ, anything you want to add?
No, man, you guys nailed it on the head. I mean, it's Le'Veon Bell. Nothing's changing. The dude is a beast.
Yep.
So, yeah.
256.5 fantasy points on the season. Well, then, CJ, why don't you take it away with number 3, Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt got into a blessed situation this year with Spencer Ware going down. He got into the position and he just took off. Now, granted, there was some games where it was out of his control just because of the coaching and the team went through like a bad little spurts, but the attempts and the opportunities were all there throughout the whole time. Now, he's got a great situation going into next year. A situation I'm a little leery on just because of the quarterback play. But what he did this past season, leading the league in rushing, I still think he can be able to do it again. Because if Patrick Mahomes comes out and just blows everything out the water, and he gets to be able to light the ball down the field, show off that powerful arm, get everybody else involved, with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, that's going to take all the attention off of Kareem Hunt and get him more back involved, get him more involved in the receiving game, get him definitely more involved in the running game. So all these things, I see that's going to be able to happen for him. All that's signs are pointing that he's going to have a good season, great season. I don't know if he's going to be able to, do this 252 points, 20 points, but I still think he's going to have a good season, and he's going to be. He should finish top 10 at the end of the day.
Kareem Hunt's an interesting situation because, I mean, as we know, he was just unbelievable for the first couple weeks. It was the first 3 weeks he was putting up in standard scoring. It was 40 points, 22 points, 24 points. But then he started to trail down 12, 11, 11, 11, 6, 6, bye week, 7, 2, 6. We all kind of assumed that this was volume. They got away from it. This is Andy Reid getting, too smart for his own good. But if you look at it, the attempts were there. He had 21 attempts, 29, 9, 18, 22, 9, 18, 11, 9. So there was plenty of volume mixed in there. He just wasn't as productive, and I don't know if he kind of burnt out, if he needed to get a little bit rested, if they needed to adjust the game plan, if it was the defenses he was playing. But if you look at who it was, there weren't a lot of elite rush defenses that they played. So there is definitely a question mark with Kareem Hunt, and obviously with a rookie quarterback there, the defenses might tee up and kind of try and stop the run more and force him to beat them through the air. So his status for me, and we've talked about this in previous episodes when we were recapping, it's I think a little bit questionable. He's currently going as the 7th running back off the board, so the 10th pick in the first round. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the volume alone is gonna make him valuable, and I think that's okay. I think that's an okay place to have him. I mean, when he was on and when this offense was clicking, like CJ said, he was lights out. I mean, he absolutely dominated. I think he has that opportunity to do that again. And I really think that with this new quarterback, that Andy Reid's going to have the opportunity to run the offense he wants to run. I always felt like he was a little stifled with Alex Smith because he wasn't able to get that kind of arm strength that he really wanted. So he kind of had to tweak his offense a little bit. Now he's got a kid that can throw the ball down the field the way he wants to. So I have a feeling that with this offense, it's going to take a little bit of time. Because this guy still is a second-year quarterback, so he's going to have to get into it. But I think Kareem Hunt's going to be good. I think he's going to be worth being the 7th guy off the board.
CJ?
I mean, like I said, my only issues is just the slow progression. What I expect. I mean, with every rookie, it comes with Patrick Mahomes. That's the only thing, because I don't want him to have to go. Kareem Hunt have to go with the year that Todd Gurley had to go through when Jared Goff came in his first year. It was stifling. Defenses shut down the run and made Jared Goff pass the ball, and I feel like that's what defense is going to do to this Chiefs offense as well. Now, I've heard reports saying that some defensive cornerbacks are saying, they're nervous about Patrick Mahomes just because of the raw talent that he is and how he can let it fly. So if that comes to fruition and he goes out and shows his talent, then I agree with Jason that I think Kareem Hunt could be able to be worth that pick.
Well, the consistency rankings kind of side with where he's going. He was the 7th most consistent running back, which isn't great, but he's not being taken top 2 or 3. So I guess it kind of works out, and it really is going to be how it plays out. So, I mean, I think if you're a believer in Kareem Hunt, that's where you're going to be able to take him. If you're not and you're hoping for him to fall, I don't know if he's going to make it to you. And that's kind of where Kareem Hunt, I think, is going to be a little bit more polarizing than any of the 2 guys we've already mentioned to this point. But, I mean, hey, if you jumped on him, obviously he picked up a lot of hype as we were getting late into August. By the end of draft season, he was going as the 15th running back off the board. So, I mean, a 3rd-round pick that you got that finished as the number 3 running back in fantasy, you'll take that. So, yeah, Kareem Hunt. Let's see. Number 4, this guy will also be polarizing. Alvin Kamara. Jason, tell me about Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, his consistency as a 3rd down back, because that's what he was. He was brought in as a 3rd down back. He was actually the 3rd guy on the depth chart at the beginning of the season, which is why if you look at his numbers, they were low. I mean, he was only the 3rd guy. But then when they got rid of Adrian Peterson, he absolutely just blew up. I mean, it was crazy. Every time he touched the ball, it seemed like he was taking it to the house. Now, here's the thing. He was absolutely hyper-efficient. He was overly efficient. And something that we always tell you to look out for is that efficiency, because is it sustainable? Now, this is a very good offense, and Mark Ingram is another very good running back. So they're going to continue to be good. But the question is he going to continue to be that efficient? I think he'll continue to be efficient. I just don't think he'll be on the same level. So as good as he was, I would look for him to take a slight step back, a little bit of a sophomore slump going into next year. But I still think he's going to finish probably as a running back 1. I mean, the talent is just ridiculous.
I mean, Obviously the upside is a running back 1. I can't disagree with that. We here he is finishing as the running back 4. Go ahead, CJ.
I was about to say I agree with Jason. I don't believe that he's going to be. I can't see myself picking him at number 4. But I do believe that he's going to finish in running back 1 just with the volume and just how I know the history of Sean Payton and these type of running backs. And just, going back and listening to even in the drafting process, how much they were enamored with this kid and what he's been doing. So the opportunity alone is going to be there. But for me to go number 4, no, I can't do it.
If you guys have been with us for any period of time, you know that one thing that we are big believers in, especially early in your drafts, is risk aversion. And, I mean, for me, the first 2 rounds, I'm going as safe as I can. 3rd round, I might get a little bit dicey. And Alvin Kamara, look, he finished as the number 4. He did that not even on a full season of opportunity and production. Could he do it again? Yes. Have we seen guys like this do this in the past, a la Jamal Charles? Obviously. Now, is it sustainable? Is it something that you can bank on? Not so much. I mean, the workload, which is something that we've kind of talked about in previous episodes as well, is what's really concerning. He had 120 carries on the season. He did average 6.1 yards per carry, and that's what's really confusing. And then, of course, all the receiving yards he put up as well was 826 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. So hyper efficient. But I'll ask you this, guys. What do you think was the most rushing attempts he got in any single game this season?
I'm going to say 12.
You asked this before, didn't you?
I don't remember if I did. I don't think I did. It is 12. Jason is right. It is 12.
Oh,
He
okay.
reached well done. He reached the 12 rushing attempt margin only 3 times. And then from there, it was a couple times where he reached 10. Most of the time, it was single digit. Receiving, he averaged somewhere around 5 or 6 as he got hot down the stretch. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy who was averaging somewhere in the 11, 12 touches a game, which, I mean, you talk about some of these top-tier running backs, that's nothing because a lot of these guys are getting, around 20 touches a game or 20 rushing attempts and another 5+ yard receptions. This is the range that it's really risky because if he doesn't break a big play, if he doesn't get the touchdown, you're walking away with a dud week. And that's where this guy's going to be polarizing. Do you buy into the talent or do you really kind of hedge yourself here and take your chances elsewhere? I'm going to be probably of the latter category. I love the talent. I love watching this guy play, but I will not be investing the 4th running back off the board, the 7th pick in the 1st round on this guy myself. If he falls later, I'll think about it more, but that's just too much risk for me in the 1st round. My number 1 overall pick with that kind of bust potential and a guy who is the backup running back. He's the 3rd down back in his system. He's just crazy efficient, and we'll talk about the guy who is leading in attempts ahead of him in 2 spot. Alvin Kamara, again, he will be polarizing. People are going to see what he did last year. They're going to pull the trigger on him early, and they might be rewarded. But there's a very good chance that he kind of, regresses a little bit here. Defenses get wise to what he's doing, and he has a sophomore slump. So that's kind of the risk-reward you're having with a player like Alvin Kamara. So let's go and move on. Number 5, we have Melvin Gordon. CJ, tell me about Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon, man, he had a solid season, man. Especially with everything that was going on with that team. They were going through some identity crisis, finding out who they were. He got more involved in the passing game, which is always good. He showed he was very solid again in the running game as well. And then with this offense, they were dealing with injuries as far as the offensive line, so those players are going to come back. So I like my projection as far as going for Melvin Gordon next year. And is he going to be worth a 6th-round pick? I believe so. I believe so, man. He's a number 1 back in that offense, and if you believe in the Chargers, we were talking about with Jason earlier, man. I mean, this offense has the potential, to just put up ridiculous numbers when everything is clicking, man. This might be the season for it right here.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, he's really good. We've seen this. And now I've been known for bashing him in years past, and that's because I didn't like his efficiency. He has not been a great average, yards per touch type guy. And this season, honestly, was no different. He just got more volume. He played the full season, which is the first time he's done that, and he still finished with 3.9 yards per carry, which is by far the least out of any player that we've talked about to this point. Now, that being said, this is his backfield. He is getting the yardage both on the ground. He is receiving. He got almost 60 receptions, got you 4 touchdowns through the air. And so if he's able to get you through a full year, I mean, yes, there's a lot of pass-catching options I almost said San Diego, in Los Angeles with the Chargers. You're looking at possibly not getting as many touchdowns, but the volume is there. He's not sharing with anybody, which is what gives him this upside. Now, he's going as the number 6 running back off the board as the 9th pick in the 1st round, and honestly, I feel pretty good about that because I think the floor is there to sustain this. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you as far as Melvin Gordon goes. I don't like running backs that are not very efficient, and that's kind of how he is. But, as you said, it is his backfield. There's no murkiness there. We know exactly who they're going to hand the ball to when they hand the ball off, and he did have a better year this year. So he is growing on me slowly. I got to see another year of consistency out of him. As far as him being the 6th running back off the board, that might be just a bit too rich for my blood.
Yeah, and I don't think people are going to necessarily be polarized on him like we are talking about some of these previous guys because, he's been good, but there will be people who have different views on him because, like I said, he still averaged only 3.9 yards per carry. He actually went down in yards per catch to 8.2 this season, where it was 10.2 a year ago. Now, more volume both in rushing attempts and receiving, which is what you want to see, which is why the floor is good. The ceiling, we'll see. The ceiling could really be one of those things that it might not be great, but, is his floor good enough to justify a first-round pick? And I think that's where the variance is going to come in with where people have him ranked on their board. So we'll see. Let's see. Number 6, we have Mark Ingram, the other side of the Alvin Kamara train, the running back core of the New Orleans Saints. 220 fantasy points. Mark Ingram, guys. So we talked about Alvin Kamara and his lack of touches. Mark Ingram was the first second down back. Once Adrian Peterson was gone, he was getting you a decent amount of touches. He was getting you 25 touches the first week he was gone, 22, 18, 16, 21, so on and so forth. It plummeted off a little bit from there, but he was also getting involved in the passing game, and this became a really good 1-2 punch. But this is why it's also very concerning, because in these committees, it just takes a little bit of a drop-off in production for them to start focusing back on the passing game, whatever the case may be. It gets a little risky. Now, Mark Ingram is a guy that we've been saying for years now, we really like him. If you watch his game tape, he's very talented. Clearly, he just kicked Sean Payton's dog or something at some point because for some reason, Sean Payton didn't like him. Well, they finally gave him the opportunity, and he was good. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry, 230 carries, got 1,100 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. The guy was good. He also got you 416 yards through the air. So a good floor. He's got upside, but his upside is absolutely capped by the presence of Alvin Kamara. So this is kind of the flip side to the Alvin Kamara coin. Alvin Kamara is going as the 7th pick in the first round, as the 4th running back off the board. Mark Ingram is going as the 2nd pick in the 3rd round, as the 14th running back off the board. Do you guys buy this discrepancy? Because, he only finished 2 spots behind him, and he's getting the volume. I personally like the floor play here. I might approach this more or less the way that we were talking about Oakland wide receivers last year. When one goes, you start looking for the other one. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. I know everyone wants the home run hitter in Alvin Kamara, but what do you guys think?
Well, to me, I like what we were saying about Mark Ingram, man. I don't know what clicked in Sean Payton's head this year to actually use them, because we went out there and he balled out. It's tough because when you use the Oakland comparison, I want absolutely nothing to do with Amari Cooper, so I always go Crabtree. But this scenario, you can't go wrong really with either one. Like you said, we know Sean Payton favors Kamara more than Ingram, but at the end of the day, when I look at fantasy points, man, I'll still get points from rushing yard. And if Mark Ingram is going to give me those, I'm okay with that. And there was games, you go back and look at the season. There was games he did get the touches in the red zone and he cashed in. There was a couple of games where Kamara was hurt, and it was just the Mark Ingram show. Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how people play this out. But I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be mad with either one. But at the end of the day, I think I would probably want to favor more Kamara, if anything.
And if either one of these guys go down, you've got a gem there. But it's a gamble. Jason, what do you think?
I am always going to go with the first, second down back. They're the ones that are going to get the ball more often, the more volume. And with Alvin Kamara, it is definitely all based on his efficiency. Like we said, he touched every time he touched the ball, and that was only 12 times a game on the ground, he took off and did great. But you cannot always bank on that, And the fact that, like you said earlier when we were talking about Alvin Kamara, the fact that defenses are going to had a full season to look at him and go, okay, we better scheme for this guy. They're going to do that this coming year. They're going to take him away a little bit more. But Mark Ingram is going to be the guy who's going to get a majority of that volume. And as you alluded to, CJ, I think something clicked in Sean Payton's head. I think he looked at Ingram and said, you know what? It's really nice not having to hope that my quarterback can throw for 5,000 yards again this season in order to win games. It's really nice to have that crutch to lean on as far as the running game goes. So I think that we're going to continue to see more handoffs going Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara's way, more for Ingram, than Kamara, because he's that first and second down plow horse. So I like both of them, like you said, CJ, but I would more favor Ingram over Kamara.
Got you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Jason. I like the floor play. I like being able to get him in the third round, which is nice. I don't have to have the risk in the first round. But, I mean, just to throw a curveball into this, it's the final year of his contract, and they have an out built into his contract this year. In 2018, he has a $6.25 million cap hit, but if they cut him, it's only a little over $1.5 million. Do you think there's even a small chance that happens?
I mean, there's a chance. I mean, Sean Payton's a little squirrely. He does weird things, and it's possible. And I'll tell you what, if I'm the New York Giants, I'm doing everything I can to make something happen, and see if I can get him over here, because I don't have to go spend my number 2 draft pick on a running back. I can look elsewhere. And Mark Ingram's excellent.
Yeah.
And he could be a 3-down back, not just a 2-down back. So it's possible, but after the season they just had, with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram being basically 2 of the best running backs in the league and being on the same team, I think they'd be stupid to let him go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly think it happens, but it's one of those things that it definitely could. I don't know, CJ, any additional thoughts before we move on?
No, we can move on.
All right, so Mark Ingram at number 6. Moving on to number 7, we have LaShawn McCoy, 204.6 fantasy points. CJ, take it away.
Well, listen, LaShawn McCoy, he's been doing this thing. He keeps doing this in Buffalo, keep putting up these ridiculous numbers. Now, I feel like he missed out on putting more numbers up just because the organization, they were being dumb. They were doing dumb things at the quarterback position, and that kind of messed things up. But at the end of the day, LaShawn McCoy was still out there balling, and that's exactly what he's been doing for you. And he is, I mean, it's all going to be predicated on if this organization stops playing around at the quarterback position and get some stability there. If when that happens, then I can say justifiably so that LaShawn McCoy is going to be worth the 8th round pick. I just can't trust it right now. If you're giving me Nathan Peterman going into this next season, then I'm gonna warn you to try to stay away from that, because teams are not going to respect this passing game, so they're going to make them pass the ball. They're going to try to shut down LaShawn McCoy, and he faced defenses this past season that shut him down. That made these quarterbacks throw the ball, and they weren't that successful, and their receivers are not that good. So this is another situation where I'm a little leery about. I love the player, but I'm just a little leery about the situation he's going to be in this up-and-coming season.
Yeah, there's turmoil, and I hate it. I hate when there's turmoil. This is an excellent back. I love LaShawn McCoy. He can do it all. He's a 3-down back. He's a linchpin-style running back. The problem is the same thing that the Redskins are doing. You get yourself a franchise quarterback, someone that can play well, someone that can play at the highest level, and you screw around with it. And you put them on the bench, and you look to try to trade, do all these kinds of things. These are teams that haven't been in the doldrums long enough to realize that it's really hard to find a good quarterback. Yeah, I agree with CJ. I don't like the situation because we don't know who's going to be under center in Buffalo. Now, if they turn around and do what they might possibly do and try to go get Kirk Cousins, I think that changes things a little bit. I think that'll make things a little bit better, and McCoy's stock goes up. But overall, I like the talent. I don't like the situation, so I'm a little cool on McCoy right now.
Yeah, I mean, LaShawn McCoy, he had a solid season. He had just under 300 rushing attempts. His yardage was good. His receiving usage was good, both in targets and yards. His touchdowns were really what dragged him down. Quarterback change is going to be tricky. I'm not going to say that in real life Tyrod Taylor is an elite quarterback. He was good for fantasy. So, I mean, maybe that's what they're looking at. But, I mean, well, obviously, this is going to be very telling what they do. Another thing that's going to be telling is what happens with LaShawn McCoy, because talking about contracts, he's owed $9 million against the cap, but they have an out built into his contract this year for just over $5.25. So, I don't know if that's enough for them to cut their star running back. He's 29 years old right now. He will be 30 at the start of the season. So, I mean, that's a decent amount to be paying a running back who's reaching, what some would argue, the end of the prime based on, average running back lifespan in this league. It'll be interesting. This is going to be pretty telling. Maybe this is why he's dropped. He's currently going at the top of the second round as the 8th running back off the board. Does that sound right to you guys?
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about maybe him coming back to Philly. But, yeah, so, yeah, that's about right. Just with this way the situation is, Saka the second, maybe late second, one of those two. Late second for me.
So you take him even later. Well, I mean,
it's just the situation is bad.
Absolutely.
Man. I mean, it's just it's not appealing at all. I'm sorry. And the player it's fantastic, but it's just, man, oh no.
Of course, we'll have a lot more answers based on his situation come draft season. This is a early February recording, so that'll make this a lot easier to project and when to take him. Jason, for what we know now, does the second round sound good, right to you?
Yeah, middle of the second round, I think.
All right, fair enough. So we're all saying that sounds about right. Let's move on to the number 8 running back on the season, Leonard Fournette, 194.2 fantasy points. Jason, tell me about him.
Dude's a stud. I mean, he's his rookie year. He came into a situation where the team was very cold to their quarterback and rough on their quarterback. So he basically had to shoulder the load to begin the season, and he did a very good job at the beginning of the season. I mean, there were what, 1, 2, 3 games we ran over 100 yards. One game, 181 yards on the ground. That is absolutely ridiculous. 2 touchdowns in that game too. That was against Pittsburgh, not a pushover defense. Then he got injured, and after the injury, he did not come back as the same runner as he was before. He was dinged up. He was battling injury throughout the rest of the year and into the playoffs. He's going to get an off season to heal up and be better, and I think that he is someone you definitely want to target because sheer volume. I mean, they already said during the offseason last year that they wanted to run the ball every single down, and when a coach says that, regardless of whether it's coach speak or not, that running back is going to get himself a lot of carries, and that's exactly what happened. I really like Leonard Fournette in this offense. Whatever happens at the quarterback position, remember, they're getting Allen Robinson back, so they're going to have to respect the passing game a bit more. And I think it's going to open things up for Leonard Fournette. They probably are. I think they're going to franchise. I mean, they'd be stupid to let Allen Robinson walk. I think they'd franchise him.
Yeah, they've
either
already.
way, I still think Fournette will be a top choice at running back.
I mean, they've already come out and said that they're going to franchise tag him, so
right.
We're assuming that's what's going to happen. I mean, Leonard Fournette, yeah, like you said, he got banged up middle of the year, which kind of messed with him. He was averaging 20.5 rushing attempts per game, averaging about 3 receptions a game, which, of course, is nice, but that's not what he's really used for. But, I mean, they really were running him into the ground. I mean, he had totals of 26, 24, 28 rushing attempts, 28, another 20, 24. They were using him quite a bit, even after he came back. But, yeah, the explosiveness wasn't quite there at times. The touchdown total, 9 touchdowns, is not exactly what you were hoping for. He did have 2 receiving to top it all off, which was nice. 3.9 yards per carry. That's what's concerning, but again, if you go back to he was hurt, he played through the first 6 weeks before missing time, and he had 3 games where he got you over 100 rushing yards. I'm not concerned about Leonard Fournette. His health has always been somewhat of a concern, but maybe with a whole offseason to get healthy, get in an NFL weight training program, put on some bulk, he should hopefully be able to absorb those hits better, and I think Leonard Fournette is going to be another good addition to your team in his sophomore year. I mean, the offense, like you said, Jason, they want to really run through him. They want to run to set up the pass. So as a 5th pick in the second round, that's the 10th running back off the board, which is where he's currently going. Do we all agree that sounds about right for him?
Yeah, that's about right to me.
I feel good about that.
Yeah.
All right, so we all agree. Let's move on to number 9. Ezekiel Elliott, 177.2 fantasy points.
Man.
He's currently going, no surprise, as the 3rd running back off the board, as the 3rd pick in the first round. Not really shocking. Of course, the reason why everyone was concerned and, why he didn't finish higher is because he missed time. He only played in 10 games this year. But before he went out, suspension, of course, he was Ezekiel Elliott. He was phenomenal. He had 1 week in week 2 against Denver where he really kind of crapped the bed. Besides that, he was getting you at least 80 rushing yards per game. He got you touchdowns in a number of games, multiple rushing touchdowns. He is involved in the receiving game. I mean, it's Ezekiel Elliott. He's going to be going as a top 4 running back. We talk about tiers all the time. I know that's a big thing I'm a believer in, besides ranking, tiering guys. He is a guy that's a clear-cut, one of the top 4 guys in that top tier of running back. I'm completely fine with him being the 3rd running back off the board. What do you guys think?
I mean, absolutely. I don't even know. It's not that much to say about Ezekiel Elliott. Pure talent alone, he is their offense. We clearly saw that as soon as he, got suspended. This Cowboys offense was just stalling.
Sputter.
It was just non-existent. Everything was affected by this. And so now him coming back, another year of offensive line getting some cohesiveness, and another year of Dak and Zeke back together. I think everything should be flowing again, and this Dallas team should be back on track, and especially for Zeke, I think he's going to be putting out some good performances, and he's definitely going to be worth that third round pick. Not third round, sorry, third pick overall.
Jason?
Let me just say this: the man missed 6 games, right?
Mhm.
Almost half the season. He still ran for 983 yards and 7 touchdowns,
Yep.
and another 269 through the air and 2 touchdowns. And they said last season they wanted to get him more involved in the passing game. Dude is an absolute monster. Yeah, you want to get this guy high. He's going to be one of those top 3 running backs, rather.
He had 6 less receptions this year than his rookie year, but he played in 5 less games. So, yeah, enough said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a situation where they're going to hopefully get the offensive line, like CJ said, back up into its normal standard. We're hearing all this of how they're going to try and upgrade the running game. The running game is going to help the pass game. The pass game is going to help the running game. They're going to help each other. Hopefully that gets Dak Prescott kind of back on track as well. And I see no reason to not take Ezekiel Elliott where he's going as the 3rd pick in the 1st round. So, yeah, no surprise. Let's move on to number 10 then. We have Jordan Howard. Chicago Bears, 176.7 fantasy points. CJ, take it away.
Well, Jordan Howard, man, what can you say about him? Such phenomenal talent. Just got stuck in a bad position. I mean, he was going out there running the ball with not Joe Flacco, but Jay Cutler under center. Had a good year. Then he got your Brissett back there, and he not Brissett. Good God, what am I talking about? Trubisky.
Ooh,
There you go.
There we go.
Trubisky. I'm looking at a Colts highlight tape right now. That's why I'm looking at disrespect. So listen, all right. So Trubisky, man, rookie year. Of course, defense is going to lock down. They force feed these running backs with the other kid. His name is Cohen, Tariq Cohen, and Jordan Howard. Man, they just wasn't getting everything going on. It was tough. It was tough to watch. But this upcoming year, I expect everything to get better. You got the coach, the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. He came now. He's going to be their head coach. He was very innovative on what they were doing this year in Kansas City. I can see that taking place another year with Trubisky. Man, it's going to be good. So hopefully that gets the weight off of Jordan Howard so he can be able to get more involved and you can be able to see more of a presence of him this year. Do I believe that he's going to be worth the 11th pick? Probably not. Probably not the 11th. Probably in the 2nd round. Probably a 2nd round running back. And
he's the 11th running back off the board. He's going as the 5th pick in the 2nd round. He's tied for that with Leonard Fournette.
Okay, well, a little lower. I'm sorry.
There
Third round guy.
You want him in
Maybe
the 3rd?
a 3rd round guy. Yeah, I want him in the 3rd, to be honest, for me.
It's not hard to argue that point. I mean, look, he's been really good. He was the rushing leader last season in 2007. Well, 2 years ago. Last year in 2017, he still got you 1,100 yards, and that was with Tariq Cohen coming in and getting the vast majority of the pass-catching work. This team was playing from behind a lot, so they weren't running a lot, and he still got it done. So, I mean, he's a guy that you can really talk yourself into, especially if you believe that the Bears are going to somewhat turn it around this year, and they're going to be in more favorable competitive games where they're going to be running the ball more. He's a good talent. I don't mind him as much in the 2nd round as the 5th pick, but until I know more, I would like to take him later because Cohen is there, and that's concerning because it is a committee. I don't know. Jason, what do you think?
So I've got 2 thoughts on this. The first one is you've got a new system coming in there, a new head coach, Matt Nagy.
Yep.
And, that's always scary. New offensive system coming in, scary. However, I think that Jordan Howard might be up for the Todd Gurley Award this year as far as Todd Gurley from this year.
Oh, okay.
I'm not, because, I mean, look at some of these games. Talk about inconsistencies. He went from 7 yards against Tampa Bay to 140 yards against Pittsburgh, down to 53 yards against Green Bay. And it was like that all season. 76 yards against Minnesota, 167 against Baltimore, 65 against Carolina. I mean, back and forth. This was an offensive problem. And as Griffin has already alluded to, they played from behind quite a bit, okay? Was not a good offensive scheme. And I think that he's going to have the opportunity to play for a coach that's going to turn things around a little bit. Bears, I believe, are going to be a little bit more competitive this year. And this is a guy, like you said, in a bad offensive scheme pretty much, 1,100 yards. That's not bad. I think this guy is going to get the opportunity this year to be much, much better than he was in the last year. I think this is going to be a sneaky pick for you. Probably he may even slip down into the third round. You definitely want to take him if he's in the third round.
He's a guy that could be polarizing because if you look at volume, if you look at floor, he's got it. It's ceiling which is in question. So, I mean, we can build a narrative either way for sure. But we all agree talent. But we'll see how it all plays out. The offseason will be very, very telling. Let's move on to number 11, Carlos Hyde, the impending free agent, 174.8 fantasy points. Jason, tell me about him.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Carlos Hyde with this revamped offense that we're seeing out there in San Francisco.
If he comes
Carlos
back.
Hyde, clearly, if he comes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Clearly, he is extremely talented. Okay, this guy is a third down back. He catches just as well as he runs the ball. There were games where he caught more yardage than he ran, like when he played my Arizona Cardinals, 84 yards through the air, only 41 on the ground. Okay, so this guy can hurt you in a lot of different ways. However, this was the very first season that he was able to be healthy the entire season. And it was good to see that, to be honest with you. It was good to see him play the entire season. Now, this offense, they have a young guy in the wings waiting to take over who might be a little bit more of a fit for what they want to do. So it's a possibility you might see Carlos Hyde walk away from this team and end up on a different team. That's why it's extremely difficult to decide what to do about him this coming season. You're going to have to wait to see what team he ends up on, what kind of scheme they like to run, and whether or not they're going to use him.
Probably why he's going in the middle of the third round right now is the 16th running back off the board because it's just one big question mark.
It's understandable. I mean, you don't know where he's going to be. It's the same thing with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say, oh, yeah, I'm going to take him in the top. You don't know.
Early to mid-February. We have no idea. There's a lot of running backs that are hitting the free agency this year. So, and a lot of teams that are not necessarily needy, but others that are. So we'll see. CJ, what are your thoughts?
Carlos Hyde, like I always said, you know, going into this year, when we were talking about the Williams kid and Carlos, I always said that they can probably be you know, the duo that's out there in Atlanta, and Kyle Shanahan can make it work. Now, granted, it didn't work out this year just because with the other kid being injured, and Carlos Hyde, he was okay, he was serviceable, but we still didn't get what we wanted to see what Shanahan was doing in Atlanta. Now, hopefully this year could be the year they hold on to Carlos Hyde one more time, let him be able to go out there and showcase himself, maybe get a trade offer, possibly get him another gig. But it's 16. I don't know. He has such a bad track record with health, and that's what kind of scares me away from him. Right. But I mean, I can see people talking themselves into drafting him, though.
Last year was the first year in his career he's played a full 16 games, and he still didn't break 1,000 yards, 240 rushing attempts, 8 touchdowns rushing, no receiving touchdowns at all, but he did get you 350 yards through the air. He's a 3-down back.
You got to remember, though, who was under center.
Absolutely.
For most of the season,
Brian Hoyer, he was garbage. He was
garbage, and that offense was garbage when he was back there. And it wasn't until Garoppolo came in, and then you started seeing him click a little bit, and they had to find a place to put Carlos Hyde. So, I mean, you can't look at that production alone and say, because that whole team was garbage back then.
I mean, his
His
best game, you could argue, was against the Seahawks, where he had 15 attempts for 124 yards.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean,
absolutely.
Or do you go with his game against LA, where he had, 25 attempts for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns? Maybe that one for fantasy purposes. And this was before Garoppolo. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily buying that narrative entirely, though I do believe that it has an impact, because obviously quality of quarterback makes them have to respect the passing game more. But if you guys, and you guys, I mean the listeners, have been following this show for any period of time, you know that we're big believers in the narrative behind Joe Williams. Obviously got hurt in preseason. Yeah. The rookie running back that they drafted that was handpicked by Kyle Shanahan, banged the table for him to draft this guy. We think he's a better fit for this offense and the scheme. If Carlos Hyde comes back, I don't think he's going to be the lead back. I think this will be a committee, which definitely deflates his value. So, middle third round, you could argue that might be too high, or if you're a believer, you might say that's about right. I can't see him going much higher than that, even though he finished as the number 11, because the situation is changing. So, yeah, Carlos Hyde, do what you will.
I don't think they're going to keep him. To be honest with you, I think they're gonna get rid of him. He makes too much money. I think they're gonna get rid of him.
Well, and he's going to be looking for probably big money. This is his first big contract, so
Yep.
we'll see. So, yeah, let's wrap this up. The 12th running back on the season, Dion Lewis. Now, Dion Lewis, healthy for all 16 games, but obviously in a very, very deep running back committee, he ended up separating himself from the pack. We were talking about as he got healthier as the season went on, he was getting more and more of a workload, and here he is, finishing as a number 1 running back with only 180 attempts. He still got you almost 900 rushing yards, averaging 5 yards per carry. He is a triple threat guy. He's good in, obviously, running, 5 yards a carry. He is useful in the passing game as well. He's just a guy who's very good, but obviously injury risks are a concern. He is a free agent, which is probably why he's going. People aren't really a believer in this guy because he's going in the late 9th round. 41st running back off the board.
Wow.
So I would say that he's definitely worth drafting at that point. I'll probably take him a little bit higher than that, depending on where he goes. But I mean, yeah, he's a triple threat guy. He can be used at the red zone. We've seen him used that way productively at times. He's obviously great between the 20s. That's how the Patriots used him. He's good at pass catching. He's good at pass protection. Dion Lewis, he's going to be on the field. Depending on where he goes, he could have a decently high ceiling provided he stays healthy. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's just for me to pick him late that round, absolutely. To get him earlier, I don't know if there's a situation he can go to that make me pick him up earlier, just because of all these great names we have at this position, man. I mean, yes, you're going to get a guy that's a triple threat guy that can do it for the rushing, receiving, and special teams. Granted, yes, but still, I mean, there's a lot more other names I would go for instead of this guy. This is a waiver wire guy to me, to be honest. So
a waiver wire guy.
Yeah, he's a waiver wire guy. I'm sorry.
You wouldn't burn a 9th double-digit round pick on this guy, maybe?
Once again, the situation has to wow me. If he's staying with the Patriots, no, I'll pass. I'll be honest. Even though that's the best situation he's been in throughout his whole career, I'll pass. It's just me. That's just me. I'll go other places to look for talent versus him staying with the Patriots.
That's fair. Leave him on the board for me. I'll take him again. Jason, what do you think? Yeah, I used him pretty successfully this year. Jason, what do you think?
Well, I definitely don't think he's a waiver wire guy. I think that it's obviously going to be all dependent on where he goes. I think he's going to end up, if he leaves the Patriots, he's going to end up in a situation where he is the guy somewhere. And we haven't really seen him in that situation where he is the guy. So I'm intrigued to see where he's going to end up. Again, there are some running back needy teams out there that I'm sure would love to grab a guy with his kind of experience and ability. I like him personally. I mean, he with that big running back committee that they had back there, he is far and away their top guy that they had this last year in New England. I mean, we talk about Rex Burkhead, but Rex Burkhead had 264 yards rushing, 254 through the air. He was efficient in the red zone, five touchdowns and 3 touchdowns. But you gotta look how far and removed from that Dion Lewis was. I mean, he had a ton of yardage on the ground compared. If you look at the amount of times he touched the ball, 896 yards rather, 6 touchdowns, 214 through the air, just as many as Rex Burkhead, 3 touchdowns. So he was a better running back than Burkhead was for this team. But again, we're talking about New England, so they'll probably drop him. He'll probably go somewhere else, and he'll get an opportunity, and it's all going to depend on where he goes.
It will. But, I mean, to CJ's point, even if he comes back to New England, I mean, Rex Burkhead is also a free agent, and even if they're both there like they were this year, he almost doubled Rex Burkhead's production. Rex Burkhead was the 36th running back, I think it was. He didn't even get you 100 fantasy points. So, yes, there is the committee, which obviously caps the ceiling. But as we've seen here, it was still enough to finish as a low-end RB1. So I think if he's healthy all year long, it'll be telling. But it will really depend on where he does go. Because, I mean, if it's a bad situation, if it's a backup job, whatever the case may be, Obviously, you're not going to be investing a high-round pick on the guy. But, I mean, double-digit flyer, why not? I mean, here he is, finishing as a top running back. It's doable. So, yeah, that'll do it for us today. Please make sure you guys tune in on Friday when we will be continuing our running back breakdown, and we're going to have a big show then. We're going to go through the running backs 2 through 4s. So that's waiver wires, and, oh, man, that's going to be a lot of names. And, yeah, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening, like we said. And I guess I should run down the names again really fast. Again, it was Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, LaShawn McCoy, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, Jordan Howard, Carlos Hyde, and Dion Lewis. Not going to be running those down again on next show, so make sure you guys save this one. If you want to interact with us, have any questions you want to ask us, make sure you guys hit us up on Twitter at the FF Fanatics, or you can follow us individually, talk to us there. I am at G Palmer FFF, CJ is at CJ Hickman 89, and Jason is at Jason Cabrera 13. So with that, we're out. Any parting thoughts, fellas?
Hey, man. First of many shows, man. We're going to be breaking this stuff down. It's going to be good stuff.
Yeah.
Long, good stuff.
Long, good stuff. I enjoyed the show. Good information. Hopefully everybody saves us. Hopefully it's helpful so you guys aren't just drafting off your boards come next year's season. Because here we have someone like Jordan. We were just talking about Dion Lewis, actually. Widely contested and not the only one that we've disputed this far. Jason, any parting thoughts?
Oh, absolutely, guys. Enjoy the off season. Lots of people moving around, and some of these names are going to fly up boards because of that, and fly down boards. So pay attention. We're going to be here breaking it all down for you.
It's starting to get interesting. All right, guys. We will see you on Friday. Take care. Bye.